Hi, I'm Overton Alford, and this is the Auxiliary Percussion Crash Course. Don't worry, that's the worst joke in the video. So what is auxiliary percussion? Well, simply put, it's everything else. It's not snare drum, it's not timpani, it's not a mallet instrument, it's not drum set. It's basically all the stuff no one's really itching to play. Like, no young child is gonna go see an orchestra concert and think, yeah, I wanna play the triangle. But that's why I'm making this video. So many young percussionists are just sort of thrown into concert band and forced to play the tambourine or the triangle or the bass drum, and they don't really know what they're doing. And as you can see, auxiliary percussion applies to a lot of different instruments. So to keep it short and sweet, I'm only gonna be talking about 5 auxiliary percussion instruments: the crash cymbals, the suspended cymbal, the bass drum, the tambourine, and the triangle. In the interest of continuity with that awful joke I made, why don't we start with the crash cymbals? So first things first, you're gonna need a good way to hold your crash cymbals. Preferably you'll have something like this, a crash cymbal cradle. If you don't have one of those, you can also use a table with a soft surface, or even a chair with a cushioned seat. If you don't have one of those, you can do as I did and use a towel. Now when it comes to actually holding the cymbals, a lot of people think you have to put your hand inside the strap, but you actually don't have to do that unless you're playing cymbals in the marching band. Here's how you actually do it. Take your 4 fingers and wrap them around the strap close to the top and use your thumb to hold it in place. So why is this important? Well, you need to be able to pick up the crash cymbals pretty quickly. Otherwise, you'll miss your cue. When it comes to actually playing the crash cymbals, the goal is to get a nice, clear, clean sound. In other words, don't hold the cymbals parallel and do this. You're not a monkey. What you want to do is you want to get a sound that does not trap the air inside the cymbals and instead hits one side and then the other in a very quick, rapid motion. Here's how I like to do it. Take the cymbals, angle them slightly, and you're just going to hold your non-dominant hand still while your dominant hand just falls. And make sure when you strike, you lift the cymbal slowly. It looks something like this. As you can see, it's not like a punching motion. It's more like that. It's got a kind of bounce to it. And if you need to mute the cymbals, don't do this. Again, we're not in marching band. What you should do is you should pull the cymbals in towards your body. Basically anywhere that doesn't hurt. I've got a big belly, so works great. Now we're gonna move on to the suspended cymbal. In order to place a suspended cymbal on a suspended cymbal stand, you will need these things: a sleeve, at least 1, but preferably 2 felts, and something to screw on top, just to make sure everything stays in place. If you try to use a suspended cymbal without these things, you're gonna get a cymbal that sounds like this. Using drumsticks, you can play the suspended cymbal like a ride cymbal. Maybe you can play it on the bell. But most likely what you're gonna end up doing is playing a crash, in which case you'll use this part of the stick and play on the edge of the cymbal. Like that. But the most likely thing you're gonna end up doing is play a suspended cymbal roll, in which case you'll need mallets that are made of a soft but firm yarn. You don't wanna play inside, because you'll hear the impact, and you don't wanna play on one edge, because you're not getting a full sound. Play on either side. And make sure that when you mute the cymbal, you use 2 hands. If you try to use one hand, you don't mute it all the way. In some serious cases, you may need to use your whole body. As long as you get that sound to stop, you're all good. This is the concert bass drum. In its pure form, it sounds like this. Yikes. We need to do something about that. As you can see, many bass drum stands include a footrest. The purpose of it is to keep the bass drum from being too loud. So if you rest your right foot on it and use your knee to dampen it, you you get a sound that isn't quite so resonant and abrasive. You can also use your left hand and hold on to the other side for a really dead sound. Oh, that reminds me. When you play this drum, do not play in the center. That's not a very nice sound. Play just off of the center. You get a much more full, clear sound that way. Depending on the context of the music, you may want a very short, sharp sound, or maybe you want something that resonates a little more. Either way, you need to use your hand and your knee to control how much resonance you get from the drum. Sort of like that. You can also use a towel. If you have clips, you can clip it using 2 at the very top. Just make sure that no more than half the drum is covered. But as you can see, this helps a lot, especially if you happen to have a bass drum stand where the drum is angled up. A towel is all too necessary in that sense. Now, sometimes in your music, you may have to play a roll. A beater like this just isn't gonna cut it. So you'll have to get a couple of these. These are very cleverly named rollers. So the way you hold them is you hold them in a traditional grip style. You take your right mallet and you play it in the normal beating spot, and the left mallet plays about the same distance from the head on the other side of the drum. Similar to the suspended cymbal, you want to play on opposite sides to get a more clear, full sound. In this case, having a towel will help a lot, trying to get a sound that is nice and short. Now, sometimes your music will ask you to play with a hard stick. Well, in that case, you're just gonna have to go for it. Yep, eardrums are overrated. All right, let's rock and roll. Wait a minute. There we go. Now I can play for Jet. So as you can see, there are actually different types of tambourines. This kind is generally known as a rock tambourine, and this kind is generally known as a concert tambourine, or very cleverly called headless and, that's right, headed. Obviously, these tambourines serve different purposes. This is the kind of tambourine you'd use for a Motown cover band, and these kind of tambourines are what you'd use for a classical music cover band. Let's talk about the headless tambourine really quickly. If you do this, that can hurt your hand after a while. So if you hold a stick, makes it a little easier on you. Also, if you want to do a shake, you don't have to go crazy. All you have to do is rotate your wrist back and forth. Now you may have noticed that there's a little bit of a nook in here. You can actually place it on a suspended cymbal stand and play it with sticks. Now when you hold the concert tambourine, make sure that you find the spot with the hole, put your thumb on top and your fingers on the bottom. Now when you play the concert tambourine, make sure you hold it up at an angle and play on the edge of the tambourine, not the center. Hear that? It's different. You want that jingle. Now if you want to play really soft on this thing, what you might do is rest your palm in the middle and play on the edge with only maybe 2 fingers. If you want to play a little louder, you could release your palm. If you want to play louder than that, make a bird's beak or, Italian. If you want to play louder than that, make a fist and use the flat part of your knuckles. And man, if you need something even louder, just take your whole hand and... Also, a quick word of warning, if you use the fist technique, do not use your knuckles, because you will poke a hole in the tambourine and your knuckles. Now, as mentioned before with the rock tambourine, if you want to do a shake roll, just move your wrist back and forth really quickly. But sometimes you may have to do a finger roll, which is something like this. Use your middle finger for a softer sound and your thumb for a bigger sound. Now, some people will lick their finger or spin on it before they do that to add to the condensation. You don't need to do that. What I like to do is just breathe on it, and that helps out. By the way, it looks something like this, going all around the head. Now, some tambourines come equipped with sandpaper, making it so much easier. Now, there comes a time in every percussionist's life where they have to play fast tambourine, in which case, use a chair, put your knee up, rest it on your knee, with your palms towards the bottom center, play with your fingers on the edge. But maybe you need something louder, in which case you're gonna have to turn it over, bang it on your knee, and then use your fist. And yeah, you are gonna have to hit the hard part of the tambourine on your knee. If you're not willing to break your kneecaps, do you even care about music? Now, let's end things light. We're gonna talk about the triangle. When you play the triangle, oh, whoops. Now, when you play the triangle, you wanna make sure that you have a proper clip. A good clip has some sort of substance that holds the triangle that doesn't interfere with the sound. If you wanna make your own clip, I highly recommend using fishing line. Anything else will interfere with the sound of the triangle. To hold a triangle, all you need to do is to make a C with your non-dominant hand, and then just rest the clip on top. This will allow you that if you need to mute it, you can just bring your fingers in to do it. Now notice that you get different sounds depending on where you hit the triangle. If you play at the top corner, you get a more direct sound. But if you play on the bottom, you get more of a wash of overtones. And you may have to make a decision on in the music where if you want something that has a more direct sound or a more overtony sound. Now, if you have to play a roll, please don't do this. You're not calling the cows home. All you need to do is to rapidly move back and forth. If you want to play louder, go a little lower. You can also roll down here. Oh, I forgot to mention, if you have a triangle beater that looks like this is not a handle. This is actually what you're supposed to strike the instrument with. Now, you really can get by with just one triangle about this size, but the truth is triangles do come in all shapes and sizes, and sometimes you have to go big or go home. Well, that's all for now. Hope you learned something, hope you had fun, and I'll see you in the next one.